I'm halfway waiting for the update where you turn the guest room into an art studio for the best friend without discussing it with your wife. I heard about that. Hello, lovely people, and welcome to Chaotic Commentary. Today we ask ourselves the age-old question, am I the asshole? Let's get into it. Story number 1. Am I the asshole for eating whatever I want in the house? I, male 51, live with my wife, 49, and 3 kids, a girl 24 and 2 boys 21 and 14. I pay the mortgage, I pay the bills, I pay for groceries. My wife works and her money goes for our vacations and retirement. We are happy with this arrangement. She makes about $85,000 a year. I make more. My daughter has a job that she got after college. My middle kid works part-time while he is in school to pay for extras. All 3 of my kids will graduate their undergrad with no debt. I work weird hours and shifts. I am writing this at 3:30 in the morning because I just got home. There was a note waiting for me on the fridge, berating me for eating a box of firecracker shrimp I found in the freezer and made myself for supper yesterday. Apparently, it was something my daughter had bought for herself. There wasn't any note on it in the freezer or anything. This isn't the first time this has happened, but I think it will be the last time. I'm thinking of talking to my wife and asking her to tell my daughter that anything in the freezer or fridge that isn't labeled is fair game, or that she has to start paying for all of my groceries that she consumes. Because she does not buy the basics, she eats all the groceries that my wife buys. I don't really have a problem with her living here rent-free and eating my food while she saves money. I have a problem with her calling me an asshole for eating food I found in my freezer in my house. I should probably add that in the past I have found out that more than once, food she got actually just meant that food she added to the grocery list that I paid for and her mom shopped for. Am I the asshole? Right from the start, I'm going to say, no, you're not the asshole. It was a misunderstanding. If it was something her specifically, she should have labeled it. I don't think you're an asshole for eating it, but maybe you could replace it. Okay, so there's an edit. Edit to answer a bunch of common questions. Just spoke to my wife and daughter. The shrimp was purchased by my wife using our budget. It was frozen shrimp, not takeout. My daughter has now agreed that if there is food that she purchases with her own money, she will label it and I will not eat it. And I will make sure that the boys know as well. As for rent, I still want her to save money. Kids have it hard enough these days. That is very true. And I actually wish that more parents were like this, where they allowed their kids to live with them rent-free. Not so much if the kid is just, just sitting around being lazy, doing nothing as an adult. Like, you should be working to, further your education, or whether you're working on a business or whatever to further yourself in life. But it is very, very hard for people these days. Trust me, I am one of those people who it is hard for. So like I said, I do not think that this guy is the asshole. If you're buying all the groceries and all the food, you spent the money on it. I understand she picked out something specifically for herself that she wanted and was looking forward to, and I understand she would be upset about it being missing. But to call your dad an asshole for eating something that he paid for, that he didn't know belonged to you, he didn't know it was yours, your name wasn't on it, he thought it was fair game, and you can't be upset with him for that. You should have approached the situation and say, hey dad, that shrimp was mine, and maybe I could get another one next time. But to call your dad an asshole, first of all, that is just highly disrespectful, to call this man who is taking care of you, a grown adult, an asshole for eating some shrimp. Let's look at a few comments. Here's the one. Will it help if I change the title to Would I Be the Asshole? Okay, this is OP comment. Would it help if I change the title to Would I Be the Asshole if I woke my wife and daughter at 3 o'clock in the morning to ask them whether I can eat unlabeled food in my freezer even though I know they both need to be awake at 7 a.m.? Right, someone saying that you were tired and hungry, right? You just got off work at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're not thinking about whose shrimp is this, and you're just hungry. You want to eat and go to bed. Okay, so someone is saying that I hope it's the hour and hangriness, but OP does come across as an asshole in the comments. Not so much in the post, but clearly in the comment. For me, wouldn't have touched something in my own house I didn't normally see in the fridge/freezer, but it depends on the level of awareness when raiding the fridge at 4 a.m. after work. So let me go find some of these comments where OP is the asshole, apparently. Okay, here's one. I have spoken with her, and in those rare occasions when we are both awake and in the house at the same time, we often have bling conversations. I don't know what that means. What is a bling conversation? My wife talks to the kids for me because not often do I get the chance to see them face to face, but she does. We are parents together, so we deal with stuff as a team. Okay, that's true. That doesn't sound very assholey. Someone asked the question, so you can find time to talk to your wife but not talk to your child? Fair question. Yes, I make effort to spend time with my wife, and it is a joint effort. On weekends, she stays up late, and I get up early so we can have time together. I'm not really seeing any comments where he was like being an asshole. Okay, I agree with this. Someone said, daughter should label special things and not go overboard with being possessive about things she didn't even buy. That's true. Like I said, again, I understand it's something that you picked out and were looking forward to eating, but at the same time, you didn't label it. So how is anyone supposed to know that you bought that for you specifically if you didn't label it? Like, this is a house full of adults. It's not like, you're a child who went to the grocery store with your parents, picked out something special, and they put it aside for you. Like, your dad clearly wasn't around when the shrimp was bought. You didn't put your name on it, so how would he know that it belonged to you and wasn't just some random shrimp in the freezer? Because I'm still not seeing any comments where OP is being an asshole. Like, I don't know what people are referring to. Someone says, technically not the asshole, but this line, talking to my wife and asking her to tell my daughter, is really strange. Why exactly can't you talk with your daughter and solve the issues without intermediary? I mean, that is a fair question. Like, why can't you just talk to the, like, maybe he was at work, or maybe the daughter wasn't there, maybe the mom and daughter have a closer relationship, or maybe he just didn't, maybe they had a falling out because she called him an asshole because he ate some shrimp. Someone made like a comment, makes sense. OP says he works weird hours. It's entirely possible his wife will see his daughter before he does, which is true. So maybe he'll talk to her later about it, but he just wants his wife to know. He wants his daughters to know right away. Another person who makes a point, not the asshole unless told otherwise, or food being labeled. How are you to know to leave it alone? In a group food dynamic, everything is fair game unless it's pointed out to be safe for whomever/whatever. I've worked the weird shifts too, and getting home after midnight much of the time is shower, food, then bed. And I often make the food that has the least prep time. Alright, so I'm going to end it there for this story. I don't know how interesting that was, so I'm going to try to find a juicy one next. Okay, so this one might be interesting. Am I the asshole for taking our son trick-or-treating without my wife? I mean, depends on what the situation is, but that's kind of messed up if she wanted to go and you went without her. My 29 male wife, 30 female, and I have a 4-year-old son. As Halloween approached this year, my son let me know that he wanted to dress up as characters from his favorite show at the moment. These aren't costumes that are readily available to buy, so I was going to have to do some crafting magic to make them. I'm a stay-at-home father, and my wife is something of a workaholic. She could cut down on her hours if she wished, but she's always been a very work-driven/focused person. She's not very maternal. Because of this, my son has never been very attached to her. They have times together at dinner, but even during times when my wife is off work, like during bath time and bedtime, it's always just me. This isn't me complaining. I signed on for the stay-at-home dad life, and I enjoy every minute of it. I just wish for his sake that she would be more involved. About a month before Halloween, my son asked if my best friend, 35 male, could dress up with us. He had already assigned himself and me as a specific character, and I had started to work on the costume, so I figured it wouldn't be a big deal to add one more. He adores best friend. They have such a sweet bond and have since my son was born. I asked best friend if he wanted to join us trick-or-treating, and he immediately agreed. During dinner the night following this, I asked him what character he wanted his mom to be. My son said he only wanted to go trick-or-treating with daddy and best friend. That sucks. That has to be like painful for you to hear your son say that. Over the course of the next month, I will casually bring it up again to my son, and he continually gave the same answer. My wife is clearly hurt, but will always brush it off. Don't brush it off. She clearly wants to be involved. If she's hurt by him saying that, she clearly wanted to be involved. And like, the child is 4. Why are you letting a 4-year-old make these decisions? He's 4. Like, he says he doesn't want his mom to go, and you're like, okay, your mom won't go. He's 4. You're the parent. Fast forward to Halloween night. I had spent weeks working on these little costumes for all of us. As we were getting ready, my wife and I got into a big argument over the fact that she didn't have a costume. I pointed out that if she had wanted me to make her one, she could have requested I do so, or she could have gotten one for herself. She said it was ridiculous that the 3 of us were doing a matching thing and leaving her out of it, and that she wasn't even going. I mean, it's true. Like, why does she have to request that you make her a costume? Why would you exclude your wife from an activity with your child, a memory. Like, these are his memories. Why would you exclude her? Like, I know you said like they aren't that close, but maybe this would have been something that like he could have looked back on, like, hey, I went trick-or-treating with my mom. But for you to exclude her simply because your 4-year-old son said that he didn't want mommy to come, you kind of sounded like the asshole a little bit. But let's continue. In the end, best friend and I took him trick-or-treating alone, and my wife still isn't speaking to me because she can't believe I actually went without her. Am I the asshole? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say yes. Yes, you are the asshole. But let's see what other people have to say. Okay, top comment is, I have to go with you're the asshole. I agree. I'm halfway waiting for the update where you turn the guest room into an art studio for the best friend without discussing it with your wife. I heard about that. And wow, I should find that so I can actually get the details on that. I'm gonna look for it. Someone said thank you, was waiting for this one. As soon as the best friend was mentioned, right? Because that's kind of sus. It's giving very suspicious. Why are you excluding your wife and including your best friend? Like, even if you want to include your best friend, that's fine, but to basically replace her with your best friend, like, I understand, yes, the son has a close relationship with the best friend. That's fine. He's like fun uncle. But it's your wife, the mother of your child. How do you just exclude her from something? Like, this is not just some random, like, oh, we're gonna watch a movie together, go to the park. This is Halloween. I don't know about other people, but Halloween is kind of a big deal to some people. Like, it's a holiday that kids love. It's celebrated. Like, it's kind of a big deal. It's a holiday. So for you to exclude your wife and include your best friend, yeah, okay. But let's continue. Someone said, I stopped reading at best friend and started scrolling the comments. Right, because you never know. Oh wow, someone said, LOL, welcome to Am I the Asshole, the only place in the world where you can't have friends without being weirdly sexual. It doesn't have to be sexual, but it's still kind of weird that you would exclude your wife and take your best friend instead. It's weird to me. And what's crazy is, like, I've seen posts and stuff where say, like, someone said that I'm not saying this is true, but someone said that men are emotionally attracted to other men, like their friends and homeboys, and sexually attracted to women. I'm not saying that's true, but there are a lot of cases that I've seen where, like, dudes are choosing their best friends and homies over their girls and wives, and I'm like, make it make sense. But I digress. Let's continue. Another comment. Normally I would agree, but there are a ton of these posts where the same thing, stay-at-home dad, cold workaholic mother, young child, and a male best friend who is perfectly perfect. They also have the same or extremely similar writing style. My question is, like, is she a workaholic? Like, you say she could cut back on her hours, but, like, we only know, like, where you're a stay-at-home dad, and depending on, like, your lifestyle, maybe she doesn't have a choice but to work all these hours. Like, it's hard out here. Like, the cost of living has gone up. Inflation is insane, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home dad or stay-at-home mom, like, if that's what the situation that you choose for yourself. However, I also know from experience as a single mother myself who does not have any help, how especially hard it can be when you have a mortgage and bills and everything else you need to pay for. Maybe she doesn't have a choice but to work all these hours. I don't know your life, so. I guess someone said, I mean, there's friends and then there's daddy. Daddy can allegedly platonic same-sex friend be my other daddy, please? And someone responded, I mean, when a mother is so absent without the need to be and chooses to be, a child will bond with those willing and choosing to be there in the child's life. A kid doesn't see platonic, romantic, etc., etc. They see who shows up. The wife doesn't. So yeah, it's totally possible if the kid has bonded with the best friend. What do people expect? For a parent to stay solely at home, only be friends with people that have kids? The truth is you lose people when you have a kid, and the people that stick around are the ones worth keeping, unless they show romantic interest, kick them to the curb. This is a solid case for a mom not putting her best foot forward, and no parent is capable of that. We're all learning. learning, but you need to show up or that kid won't even recognize you. That's very true. I agree with all that. But like the thing is that like in these posts, like we only know one side of the story. Like we know what he's telling us. Is she cold and not showing up to me because she doesn't want to? Or is she working extra hard to take care of everything? Because like I said, life is expensive. It costs $150 just to take a breath these days. Because I just wanted to read this comment thread really quick. So the thread starts with, and no comment about mom just being the incubator. Damn, she can't even bathe her own child. Best friend does a lot with child. Mom doesn't have time for that. Not the asshole. If the roles were reversed, they call dad the biggest asshole. So someone replies to that, damn, she can't even bathe her own child. I got the impression that it was more so that she had no interest in bathing the child, not that she can't. Opie even said he wishes she was more engaged with the child, but she doesn't do anything with him. Next comment. The roles wouldn't be reversed because mom would have made dad an outfit without any asking, reminded him 599 times when Halloween is, and laid the outfit out for him the night of. Next. No, they would not. He would be a hardworking man trying to support his family, give him a break. That is 100% true. Like, why is it like when men are out here like working hard, it's like, oh, he's such a hardworking man, he's taking care of his family. Yet when a woman does it, like, oh, she's so cold-hearted, all she cares about is work, she's a workaholic. Maybe she doesn't have stress. Like, so you are a stay-at-home father, the same way if there was a stay-at-home mom. She is the sole provider. You are not providing anything. So maybe she has to work those long hours. And someone says, welcome to Am I the Asshole, where women are rarely at fault, and even if they are, they're not. And I don't agree with it. Like, I'm not defending a woman for the sake of defending a woman, but we only have one side of the story. Like, we know what he's telling us. And like I said, like, the double standard of a man working hard is a hard working man, but a woman working hard is she's cold-hearted. She doesn't want anything to do with her children. And maybe I'm not saying like maybe she should put in more of an effort to spend time with her child. That's true. But maybe she's tired when she goes to work. Like, we don't know what type of job she has. She's the sole provider, and maybe she could make more time for her child. But to exclude her from a special holiday when she clearly wanted to go, like she was upset that she didn't have a costume and that you didn't include her. So clearly she wanted to attend this holiday event of trick-or-treating, and you intentionally excluded her. Like, it feels very intentional to me, because you said, you asked the son, oh, what do you want your mom to be? And he said he didn't want his mom to go. And you, okay, that's the end of it. Whether or not you tried 2 or 3 more times, you still could have included her. Like, why does a 4-year-old child get the last say of whether or not his mother will go to Halloween with him? Not some random stranger, not some kid he doesn't like from school, his mom. And you're just like, okay, your mom won't go. And this comment, how do we know she won't bathe her own child? Because OP says so? Wouldn't surprise me if OP won't let her do anything with the son, and now wonders why his wife is upset with him. I agree, like, with the first part. Like, how do we know she won't bathe her own child? Because OP says so, right? We only have his word. I don't think there were, like, any updates or anything, because this is fairly new. I think this was just posted. This Halloween just passed. All right, and this is exactly what I'm saying right here. This comment, someone said, came for the art studio comment. Okay, so it says, why did OP ask the kid if he wanted mommy to come? He's 4. You just tell him mommy's coming, and so she needs a costume. If he says he doesn't want mommy to come and there's no reason beyond mommy works a lot and is tired after work, but maybe that's something we can work on, tell him that isn't very nice, and you guys should try to include his mom. Sing some Daniel Tiger about sharing is caring and grown-ups come back, and tell him mommy loves him very much. It sounds like dad didn't want mom to come. You're the asshole, AP, and I completely agree with that. You are the asshole. It very much seems like you didn't want her there, because this child is 4 years old. And not to say that a child's feelings don't matter, because they do. Kids have feelings too, but he's a 4-year-old child. He knows, like, his mom works a lot. She isn't around. He doesn't spend a lot of time with her. We don't know, but he is 4, and like, he still has his entire childhood all the way up to 18 ahead of him to build a relationship with his mom But for you to exclude her when she wanted to go, you're causing more of a rift between them. Like, why don't you try to include her in something that she wanted to be included in? Like, for you to exclude her, like, you're causing a bigger rift. You're making the situation worse to exclude her. And because she clearly she wanted to go, she was upset to make her costume. So I don't feel like you're telling the truth about everything. Like, if she wanted to go to this thing and you excluded, what else have you excluded her from? What else have you told her you can't be included in? Maybe you're upset that she works too much and isn't giving you attention. I don't know. But I very much feel like, sir, you are the asshole. Next story. Am I the asshole for continuing to say I was kicked out when my mother doesn't like me to say it? Did she kick you out? Or why she don't want you to say it? Clearly she doesn't want people to think she's a bad person for kicking you out, but let me read before I judge. When COVID first started, I was living in my own apartment doing okay. When lockdowns came into effect, I lost my job. I ran out of money fast and ended up putting a lot of debt onto my credit card. My mother and stepdad were worried about the debt I was accumulating and asked me to move in with them. I had rules and followed them with only the occasional complaint about mopping. Mopping is disgusting. I know you have to do it. It's gross. When I was a kid, my grandmother used to make us squeeze the mop with our bare hands, no gloves. That's why I own a mop now with the little the thing you pump. I'm not touching a mop. That's disgusting. Anyway, the rules were the things like sweeping, vacuuming, mopping the floor once a week, cooking dinner twice a week, keeping my bathroom clean, and walking the dog twice a day. I was there about 8 months, and while we had some issues, I was 26 at the time and had been living on my own since I was 19. Very not used to other people constantly being around. I thought things were going okay. I had started to feel like it was time to move out though. I'd saved up some money and was getting tired of passive aggressiveness. One day we were all sitting in the living room, my mom on her computer with headphones and my stepdad on his computer and me reading. My stepdad got up and brought his computer to another room to do a call. I think that's a typo. But he left his music playing out of the Alexa. Since he was in a different room and my mom had headphones in, I turned off the music to better concentrate on my book. When my stepdad came back, our quiet afternoon together turned into a literal screaming match. You couldn't have just turned the music back on? Like, was it that serious? He got pissy that I turned off the music and I made a somewhat snide comment that someone's having a bad day. That was all he needed to start his meltdown. Screaming and yelling about how I never did anything around the house and was generally just a burden to them. My mother tried to intervene at one point, but both of us told her to stay out of it. The night ended with me miserable and crying in my room. The next morning, I woke up to a text that was literally 5 paragraphs long, but the gist of it is that he wanted me out immediately. My mom tried to mediate the situation, which was just me sitting listening to a list of reasons why I needed to leave. Eventually, things ended with them agreeing that I had 30 days to find a new place and be out. Luckily, I did find somewhere with 6 days to spare. That's great. Happy for you. In conversations since then, I said the words, when I was kicked out, my mother had a total freak out about it, saying that I was never kicked out and that saying that made her look bad. But you did kick them out. You did. You give me some... Okay, so it's just how an eviction works. You get a certain amount of time to get out. Therefore, you were kicked out, evicted, whatever you want to call it, you were kicked out. If it makes you look bad, then maybe you shouldn't kick your child out the house because of an argument over music being turned off. And as a person who was kicked out by an uncle who will argue that he never kicked me out, I can attest to that. And it was a very stupid argument, which to this day, I believe the argument was started for the sole purpose of having a reason to kick me out. But I digress. Let's move on. Am I the asshole for saying I was kicked out, even though in her mind we all agreed that moving out was the best option? My opinion, before I read any comments, you're not the asshole. Your stepfather, however, is an asshole, because why are you getting that upset with somebody? They're just screaming and threatening to kick them out because they turned off music. Yeah, she made a little snide comment, but you were upset for the most part because she turned off your music when you were out of the room, and you simply could have turned it back on. I don't see that as a big deal for you to kick someone out of the house turning off an Alexa. Let's read the comments. First comment: not the asshole. You're speaking the truth. I'm sorry your mom didn't have your back. She really didn't. She really didn't. Is it worth having a sit-down conversation with her? The relationship with your stepdad feels like a bigger issue here. True. OP replies, my mom and I legit tried a few therapy sessions, but they ended up with us just saying that we have to agree to disagree. LOL. Things with my stepdad are fine, we just avoid the topic. That's not a good thing to do, I guess, to avoid the topic, but I guess if you want to keep the peace. Someone says, perhaps rewording it to when I was forcefully rehomed against my will. That works. I was forcefully rehomed against my will. Rehomed doesn't really work, as it would imply they found OP a new home. Evicted, maybe? Yeah, she was definitely evicted. Or when mom's husband kicked me out, so mom doesn't see the blame being put on her. Obviously, mom feels bad about OP being forced to leave, but she can't stand up to her spouse, not the asshole. That's very true. Technically, he was the one to start the process of evicting her or rehoming her, but the mom really didn't have her child's back. And someone says, it doesn't matter how badly OP's mom feels about it, actions are literally all that count at the end of the day. And that is true. What I have found is that when a person says they don't want to look like the bad guy, or like something you said that is true makes them feel bad, it's because maybe they do feel bad, maybe they feel guilty, maybe they know they are the bad guy. Someone can't make you look like the bad guy if you're not the bad guy. Like, it's not like she's lying on you. She's not going around saying my mom kicked me out when that's not what happened. That's what happened. Like, whether or not you want to word it a different way, she was kicked out. It's your house, therefore you were the one who kicked her out. If you feel bad, that's you problem. And someone said, it's the mom's house too. Her lack of action is still an action. That is very true. Lack of action is an action. Like, failing to do anything, that counts as an action. Inaction is action, which doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. So leave me alone. Someone said, it does make her look bad, yes, but you were kicked out, not the asshole. It's true. If you don't want something to make you look bad, don't do something that makes you look bad. Simple. It's very simple. It makes her look bad because it's the truth, what I was just saying. The woman was too spineless to stand up for her daughter. True. It makes you look bad because it's the truth. The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. Someone says, sorry mom, I wasn't kicked out because you gave me notice. I was evicted. True. She was like, if you want to get technical, she was evicted. So should she just go tell people, hey, my mom, she evicted me? I don't think that makes you look any better than just saying you kicked your child out of the house. I don't think it makes you look any better. And we will end this story on this comment. The truth is the truth, even if it makes you look bad, not the asshole. And that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed these stories, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to Chaotic Commentary. Peace.